board of the directors of the Morning Star School for Children with Learning Disabilities. Rick is a 1994 graduate of the Citadel. He enjoys cooking, golf, I know that for a fact, boating, and spending time with family and friends. Something nobody knows about Rick is that he graduated second in his class of 178 from the John F. Kennedy Special Warfare School at Fort Bragg, North Carolina. I didn't even know that. Gotta put my money somewhere. No, we're good. Ladies and gentlemen, Rick Ryder.
I'm particularly proud of the Special Warfare School thing because I was 30 years old at the time and everybody else was between 19 and 24 years old. So anyway, okay, I'm Rick Ryder. I'm a financial planner, financial advisor, stockbroker, whatever you want to call me. I've been doing it for 18 years right here in St. Petersburg and in Tampa. Those are pictures of my family, my wife and son a long time ago in the lower left-hand corner. That's my daughter at Machu Picchu, and when she was at Alabama, she's studying to be a chiropractor in Athens, Georgia right now. And that's my son, Richard. He's a Boy Scout, just finished his Eagle Project, and he's a football player. He was chosen as the captain of the South County team here in Pinellas. Had a great game, and they won. And that's me in the lower right-hand corner there back in the day when I was a senior in college. Okay, next slide. Okay, Bay Capital, we're a registered investment advisory firm, which means we're completely independent. I don't work for a bank or a brokerage house. I have no skin in the game in what my clients invest in. I just need it to be worth more in the future than it is today. We do investment management, trust administration. Retirement planning is probably the bulk of what we do. I also handle endowments for nonprofits as well as individuals and families. A couple things about retirement planning. I'm not going to get into a lot of nitty-gritty. I've got a story at the end that I want to tell you, and it's pajama day, so I don't want too much heaviness. But when it comes to retirement planning, have a plan. Have something down on paper with both short and long-term goals. Understand your investments, the risk, the reward, and the liquidity. Very important. Liquidity. If I want my money back, how long is it going to take me? You need to know that going in. I'm so shocked at how many people have come to me and said, oh, I didn't realize there was a surrender penalty, or I didn't realize I couldn't take my money out before a certain date. You've got to understand this. Continue to work and save in your 401k where you work. There's no better place for you to put money than in a retirement plan at the company you work for. If you don't have a retirement plan at the company you work for, talk to me and let's set you up with an IRA. And contribute to it, even if you're not getting a match. There's still a benefit to it, I promise you. If you have questions about it, let's do one-to-one. Diversify. I'll talk a little bit about that on the next slide, but my overarching investment philosophy is buy quality, stay patient, and never panic. I've been doing this 18 years, and when I've run into people who have done that, they've always reached their goals. Okay, this slide, they call it the eye chart slide, and it's basically 2000 to 2014, and it has the best and the worst performing investment classes for that year. And every investment class, there's 12 of them, are color-coded. And you can see that there's no pattern. The best one can be the worst one the next year, and vice versa, and on down the line. But what you do notice throughout there is the white, which is always kind of in the middle. That's a combination of all the investment classes. So you want to diversify your investments. You can overload certain things that if you think, okay, we're going to do this for a couple of years and have more stocks than bonds or vice versa. But you basically want to have a good mix of everything. That way you're not taking too much risk. Okay, I want to tell a little story about this picture. This photo was taken September 12th, 1962. And it was taken as obviously President John F. Kennedy. And what he was doing, he was at the campus of Rice University on their football field. He was giving a speech where he lays out the goals for the U.S. space program. And he had a whole bunch of them. And at the end, he said, we are going to send a man to the moon and return him safely to the Earth within this decade. And it was already 1962. And a lot of people were shocked by it. They had no idea how they were going to do it. And it was this crazy goal. A lot of people thought it was going to sink his presidency. So what happened was, 6 years, 10 months, and 9 days later, Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin walked on the moon. And in probably the cruelest act of unfairness in the history of mankind, poor Michael Collins had to stay up in the lunar capsule and watch those guys play a round of golf on the moon. But 4 days later, they splashed down 1,440 miles east of Wake Island and were picked up by the USS Hornet and returned safely to their homes. And they were able to do it. And it was an amazing goal. And a lot of people thought it was crazy. But I want to talk about a little bit about setting goals that are crazy, and working to achieve them, because most of the time, the goal doesn't matter so much. What it is the working and organizing yourself to it. John Kennedy had a great quote in that speech. In addition to saying, we're going to send a man to the moon within the decade, he said, we choose to go to the moon. We choose to go to the moon in this decade and achieve the other goals, not because they're easy, but because they are hard. Because this goal will serve to organize and measure the very best of our energies and skills. It's a challenge we are willing to accept, one we are unwilling to postpone, and one which we intend to win. And he was able to rally everybody and get that done. And it was an amazing achievement, I think the greatest achievement in the history of mankind. B&I is a lot like that. We set goals as individuals. We set goals as a group. We organize our energies and our skills in an effort to achieve those goals. And I think that the act of doing that, whether you reach the goal or not, you're going to be better for it. And I just want to thank everybody for helping me to organize my energies and skills, helping me to set goals, and inspiring me. Everybody in this room has inspired me in one of three ways, some all three ways. You've either sent me referrals personally or friends and colleagues. You have either helped clients of mine when they needed whatever it is that all of you do, and that helps deepen my relationship with them, which is something that's very important to me. Or you've inspired me by being here every Tuesday morning at 7:30, whether it's cold or it's raining or whatever. And I thank you all for your referrals. I thank you for your support. I hope you had a wonderful Christmas. Let's have a safe, prosperous, and awesome New Year. And God bless.
To the moon!
And then our next presenter is Nathan Dion with Dion Mold Remediation. Is someone introducing you?
No.
Okay, we're just gonna get it.
Here's Nathan.
Well, you're not going to be as inspired by this or by that.
Thought she was going to do a special intro.
Alright, is this thing on? Okay. Alright, so I'm Nathan with Dion Mold Remediation, and go to the next slide. So we're a full-service restoration company specializing in mold remediation and mold testing. Talk a little bit about mold remediation. It's pretty straightforward stuff if you follow the guidelines set out by the IICRC, which is kind of the governing body of rules and best practices. This doesn't stray. Most companies are going to kind of follow the same practices. When we come to mold testing, I think that's what, and mold assessments, that's what kind of breaks us apart a little bit. Just like Don always says, every single week, their inspections, and I've experienced them, I've seen the report, they're much different from your average run-of-the-mill home inspector, and I know and feel that, ours are the same way. Most, mold assessors, you're gonna see them, advertising this buy one sample, get one free kind of deal. They're gonna come out, pop a couple samples to say they did something, and they're not gonna look at the big picture. When we go out there and assess a property and do a mold assessment, we're looking at everything because when we're dealing with mold, we're really looking at the entire environment. What's going on with the building envelope? Do you have any active leaks or water intrusions? When was the last time your HVAC system was serviced? What kind of filtration do you have? All these things go into making an accurate assessment and then coming up with a proposal for remediation to solve any kind of mold problem that you may have. And then, like I shared in my my 30 seconds, we do water extraction and dry out. This is by far one of the most important processes that a lot of people skip. When you have a water leak, you can't just wipe up the water with a towel and then say, oh yeah, look, I don't see a puddle on the floor. All your building materials are porous usually. Drywall is like a sponge. When we were doing restoration down south, some of the homes that we went in, they only had maybe 3 inches of water, but we were picking up active moisture, up to 4 feet up the wall. And that's stuff that you can't see visually. So if you have any kind of leak or water intrusion, the most important thing to do is start the dry out process. This is also what insurance companies look for when deciding whether they're gonna honor a claim or not. Were you negligent? Did you try and mitigate the problem from getting worse? And a lot of times, we'd rather save what we can instead of having to rip it out. So you spend a little money up front to save a lot of money on the back end. And then, some of our other kind of more, what's the word, maintenance kind of, services that we provide are disinfectant foggings of your entire home, duct cleanings, and general sanitizations. And these are important in kind of preventing the problem, because that's the biggest thing we want to do with mold, is we want to prevent the problem before it even occurs. And disinfectant foggings are something that we do on a yearly to twice a year thing, where we go in, we sanitize the entire all the air in the home or the business, and then you kind of know that, hey, all the air has been cleaned. We did a lot of this during COVID, and then you can kind of move on from there. Duct cleaning, the same thing. The biggest thing I say about duct cleaning is your AC system is one of the most expensive components of your home, right? And what are you doing to protect that? We want to prolong the life of our AC units, and duct cleaning, removing dust, debris, particulate, mold from your ducts and duct systems. That's what's going to do that. Next slide. Okay. So mold remediation versus sanitization. There's, just like any industry, there's shady people, there's shysters, this is the next big thing, this is the one stop, this is the quick fix. And mold remediation is the actual removal of mold and moisture impacted building materials. It is not going in and just, seeing mold on the wall, spraying it and walking away. That doesn't work. Sanitization and other things like that, that's kind of the cleaning aspect, but the mold remediation is the actual removal. So anyone saying, oh yeah, we can remediate that, we're just gonna come in and spray this magic fog and you're never gonna see mold again, walk away. Next slide. Okay. So one of the most common things and misconceptions, that I hear of, especially with realtors that aren't Marianne, who really want to sell a house, is you see mold, or we start to hear this term mildew, right? Oh, it's just mildew, it's not mold yet. So we've all heard that, right? Oh yeah, it's just mildew, nothing to worry. So that term actually came, I'm going to say a lot of big words, just kind of bear with me. That term actually came from the term powdery mildew, which is a fungus that grows on plants. And what it is, it's basically a mold from the Ascomycotic kingdom. And why that's interesting is one of the most common molds that we see here in Florida, both in the outside air and the airs in our homes, is Aspergillus type molds. And that is also a mold from the Ascomycotic kingdom. So anytime you hear the word mildew, it's really mold. And mold is harmful to humans. So that's kind of, anyone says, oh yeah, it's just mildew, just refer replace it with mold. Next slide. Okay, do you have mold? Yes. So right now, we're breathing it in. You know, there's what we call the normal fungal ecology. When we walk outside, you know, we're breathing in mold, it's okay. It's when we have these massive elevated levels, you know, in a confined space, that's when we start to have these issues. You know, and like I was talking about, I mean, these are the most common indoor fungi that we see here in Florida. Next slide. Okay, let's do next slide. Okay, so we've all also heard of the toxic black mold, right? This is the big, scary, you know, burn the house down pandemic. So just because mold looks black, it doesn't mean it's the Stachybotrys, the black mold. This mold is often found, you know, when we have an active moisture source. So anytime there's been a pinhole leak in the wall that's gone unnoticed for a long period of time, or roof leak, something like that. But this doesn't usually compromise the indoor air quality. It's a very heavy, thick mold that, as long as you don't disturb it, you know, it's not going to sporulate and release these mycotoxins that we inhale. When this becomes an issue is if you have someone who isn't a licensed mold remediator try and handle this, and they start dragging moldy drywall through houses with no containment, you know, things like that. Next slide. Next slide. Next slide. Okay. Yeah. So you know, the best referrals for us are guys like Callahan, public claims adjusters, property managers, plumbers, basically any kind of trade, general contractors. You know, just any of those services that I've listed. You know, please give us a call. We try and kind of stay away from renters because they usually want stuff for free. We can't run a business like that, but if you do have friends or family, be happy to go out and talk with them. Thank you guys.